xCloud on iOS in the browser? We've got a few more details. We knew it was coming, and now we have a few more details. Microsoft is officially saying that you will soon be able to play xCloud, or cloud gaming, on iOS and in your browser here in spring of 2021. Now, that is honestly a little bit later than I was expecting. Phil Spencer had said early 2021, and yes, technically spring is early 2021, but I think many of us were hoping maybe January or February, but here we are. Microsoft is officially saying that it will be spring, which is fine. I don't think it's obviously there's a lot of people who want to get in on this and start playing it on these devices, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to move the needle like significantly. I don't think Microsoft says, hey, it's on iOS, and then they're suddenly going to get a billion more people playing. But having it being accessible and effectively wherever you are is going to be a good thing. So look for that in the spring of 2021. That is just it's just good news, generally speaking. Microsoft also gave us a bunch more kind of stats, but the stats don't tell us a ton of information in the blog post that they put out today, where they also announced the xCloud on iOS and the browser. First off, they say over 1.6 million seamless upgrades delivered to the Xbox Series X and S owners with smart delivery. Now, when I first read that, I was like, oh wow, there's 1.6 million consoles sold, but that is absolutely not the case, because one person could have multiple smart delivery updates. Like, I think I personally had like 4, and so 1.6 million is not how many devices were sold, but it tells you that, hey, a lot of people are making use of that feature, and so some unknown quantity of next generation Xbox consoles are making quite a bit of use of that that feature that is available. They also said over 40% of you, meaning people who bought consoles, joining Xbox for the first time, are playing on an Xbox Series S. Now, this is somewhat interesting too, because effectively what they're saying is that 60% of new people into the Xbox family, or whatever you want to call it, bought the Series X, and the other 40% bought the Series S. So it's about a 60-40 split. Now, the reason why you can't put a lot of weight into that stat, just regardless of trying to figure out, what are the console sales looking like, is that's primarily, my guess would be based on availability. People trying to log in and buy a Series S, and the X was the only thing available, so they bought that, or maybe they logged in and the S was the only thing available. So it's way too early to understand really what new people joining the Xbox gaming community are going to be buying. I still think it's definitely going to favor heavily towards the S, but I think these early numbers are effectively just saying, hey, this is kind of what was available and everything else. They also said one of the fastest selling Xbox Series X and S markets out of the 40 launch regions was Europe, and it saw record sellout in a matter of hours in UK, France, and Germany, which is great, I guess, but it doesn't tell us anything. It just is this console that people still can't buy today, sold out really quick in these countries, and we don't even know how many were there or anything else. But whatever, that's good for Microsoft, and it's selling out. But it's kind of useless info at the end of the day. But the big deal that was announced today was obviously the iOS and PC and cloud streaming. But they also said some other things here too. They announced a bunch of titles that are coming to the Xbox that I will throw up on the screen here. Just a couple quick highlights. At Crossfire, they said 12 minutes is a console launch exclusive. There's a new Lego. There's a couple others down in there. But if you go down to the Game Pass, which I think Game Pass is going to be Microsoft's marching narrative again for 2021, because I believe they're pushing heavily towards that Game Pass subscription. They're talking Halo Infinite is there, Psychonauts 2, The Ascent, The Medium, The Gunk, Warhammer 40k, Darktide, which is a console launch exclusive, Shredder, Scorn, Skatebird, and a few others, Dead Static Dive and The Good Life. I was just looking here at some of these console launch exclusives that are going to be happening inside of Game Pass, and I think that is going to be their sales strategy. At least that is what I'm hearing, is that Microsoft, once they get cloud gaming on all of these devices, it's not going to happen initially because it's going to take time, and they need to scale up, and they need to make sure the model works really effectively, but they're going to be using cloud gaming as a top of the sales funnel to get people into the Xbox community. So what do I mean? Now, this is just me making up a scenario, but imagine you go to Taco Bell, because Microsoft has a relationship with Taco Bell. You buy a drink, a little peel-off sticker, and says, hey, you've got 5 hours of free cloud gaming or something like that. And so you can go log into your browser and start playing all of these Game Pass titles effectively through cloud gaming. And I think that's what Microsoft is going to start pushing here pretty heavily, because while that's not necessarily a console sale, remember, they're definitely pushing for the software as a service model, which is Game Pass. This is definitely going to be a strategy once everything materializes and up and stable and running, and look for those promotions to be happening in 2021. And so that is what Microsoft has announced today. They also teased, they said, to be watching the Game Awards, which I believe is tomorrow. They said stay tuned, starting with the Game Awards for more surprises. I'm thinking that we might potentially see like new Game Pass announcements, potentially some new footage from games that are upcoming and something like that. Just keep your eyes and ears peeled to the Game Awards. Keep in mind, that is also where Microsoft launched the Xbox Series X. That is where they officially announced it. Remember, Phil Spencer did that big thing where they put on a fake, like, they faked the rehearsal, and then during the live event they actually put a new video in there, and it was actually announcing the Xbox Series X. So a lot of things happening in the Xbox world. Late last night, if you haven't checked out, we got a major update from 343 about what is happening with Halo Infinite and how that project is progressing. And so, spoiler alert, it's not until fall 2021 that stuff will not be arriving. And then earlier in the day, we also got some big news from YouTube Gaming, where they announced that, hey, Minecraft is just a massive success over on that platform with over 200 billion views, which is effectively double that of what was happening in the previous year. And it's like bigger than Fortnite and GTA combined. Like, put that in perspective on YouTube Gaming. Obviously that doesn't include Twitch, but here we are. So big things are on the horizon for Microsoft and the Xbox in 2021. Yes, they had somewhat of a miss with Halo Infinite being delayed, but that's water under the poorly polygonated bridge, whatever you want to call it. Low visual fidelity bridge, and they've already rectified that issue, and we should be seeing that in fall of 2021. Then we've got the xCloud and everything launching in the spring of 2021, which I'm curious if they're trying to align that up to something else that's like that we don't quite understand or haven't gotten our fingers on it. The reason why I say that is spring 2021 is honestly pretty far away, and we've already seen leaked videos, and I've already played it on a PC myself, and it works just fine. I don't know if it's like a scale and infrastructure thing, or if they're just trying to align it up with specific marketing initiatives, or they're trying to get certain assets in place so that when they launch these things, and I mean marketing and visual assets for iOS and the browser, but like technically it's all there on the back end. So Microsoft is just maybe moving some chips around, or potentially they're just trying to push the date out further so that they have more time to gear up, right? They don't want to launch this and have it go poorly. Also, there's a lot of sort of workarounds, as you will, because they're running it in a browser on iOS. Like, you got to go look at how Luna does it, where you go to the webpage and then it tells you to follow a couple hoops you have to jump through. Quite literally, you have to download the app as a web app, and then when you launch it, it's something different than what you download. It's a pretty weird scenario, but Microsoft is obviously not pioneering any ground here because Luna already had to do it, and then they've got to make sure that their controllers and everything else and all the third-party peripherals, like the Razer Kishi and everything like that, Razer Kishi doesn't work, but it's like, what is it called? The Backbone. One's backed by Mr. Beast and a couple others, and Nadeshot, I think. Make sure that all those things work appropriately. So maybe 2021 of spring is just more of a, hey, this is just a non-rush deadline. We are heading, deep into the holiday season here, so trying to, force something in January just may not work out, and they're just padding out the stats a little bit, or padding out the launch timeline. Because the reason I get a little nervous is that, knowing Microsoft, when they announce a launch timeline, they typically mean like the very last week, and that would put it at June, which is not a good time because that's technically not early 2021 anyway. So there you go, guys. That is everything that Microsoft has sort of talked about in some speculative rambling here, because it is December, and hopefully it is going to be a December to remember.